tutor. You got this.
Got it.
Hello, we are very glad that you agreed to do this, and welcome you to this Q&A in aid of raising money for Shout and the Mix, a mental health charity for under 25s. Before we begin, we would like to say a few words. As you know, this Q&A is dedicated to the memory in memory of our friend Ben Thurwell. Eli has a few words to say.
Thank you, Hannah. How do you encompass a life into a paragraph? He was like a friend, but to most of us, he was like a brother. He knew how to make you laugh until you cried and always made sure his friends were all right. He wanted to be on stage to perform and make a difference and share his passions. He made the world a better place. He raised awareness for people like him so no one would feel alone again. He loved cadets and would talk at length about it to anyone who'd listen. I remember NCN, the joy he brought to so many. People recounting memories of how kind and welcoming he was to them. I remember how excited he got talking about the time he met Will Bond, and hearing the joy and excitement in his voice as he recounted that day was enough to make anyone's day. He made sure everyone felt okay, even when he didn't believe the same about his life. Losing him was losing one of the kindest people I knew. Ben was one of the silliest people I knew, always ready with a joke. He could have had his name in lights, could have sang the world's woes away. He showed the world that being different was okay, that Tourette's didn't define him or stop him from doing what he loved. He was always so brave. I hope the money that we've raised will help people like him so no one has to feel that way again.
On that note, I am delighted to say that we have raised £601 and plus £91 in gift aid. We thank everyone who donated and submitted questions.
For some reason, gift aid doesn't count in the entire total. We don't know why.
I don't know.
Hannah's got the first question.
Yeah. Let's begin the questions. Is everyone ready?
Okay, fire away.
Yeah. Aspin asks, do you have a favourite type of pavement?
Favourite type of pavement? Gosh, where to begin? That's a punchy one to start with. There's a cake called a pavement, isn't there? I'm sure there's a cake that's like a tiramisu. I'm going to cheat and I'm going to take that. I think it's called a pave or something like that. And it's like a cobblestone-shaped cake. I'm going to choose that.
Do you know what? That's completely... There is context. Aspin's one of my uni mates who is a wheelchair user, so they were being a bit silly. The next question is from Ash, who definitely isn't my younger sibling. When did you realise that acting was what you wanted to do?
I think I was lucky in that I got to do lots of plays at school and things, and then I got to the end of school and I was wondering what to do next and whether to go to university or not. And I thought, oh, we'll go to university or try to go to university, and tossing up what to do course-wise. And I thought, what if I don't pursue drama now, then I never will. And then got to the end of university and thought, well, I don't know what else I'm going to do. So it sort of rolled, rather than, I didn't have a light bulb moment of thinking I want to be an actor. It was sort of, I'll give it a go and see how far I get. So
I'm glad you did.
Well, it's kind of.
Hannah's got the next one.
What is your favourite theatre you've played at?
Ooh. Gosh, I've been very lucky to play at some really beautiful theatres. And there are some really stunning theatres, or like some lovely little spaces around the country, and there are some really beautiful old theatres all over the country. For me, and I loved the Watermill where I did the King's Speech last year, is definitely up there. If I hadn't cracked my head on the beams so many times, then that would probably take it. But favorite theatre, touring wise, I'd say maybe Bath. Theatre Royal Bath is absolutely beautiful, and the dressing rooms look out on this sort of courtyard, and it's a wonderful place to be. But would probably be the Duke of York's, which is where I did Journey's End. And we started Journey's End at the Playhouse Theatre, and then we moved after after a month, maybe. I think we moved to the Duke of York's, and so it felt like we'd settled in, and we had an amazing time. And it was, again, absolutely beautiful theatre.
I actually have the Journey's End program. I found it on eBay.
Oh God. My hairline definitely not what it was back then. But,
To be fair, technically Bexley found it, but I ended up being the one buying it. I did just look up at it's above me on the shelf. I have the next question. What advice would you give to your younger self?
We're talking younger, like 20-year-old self, or
Up to
just
you.
starting out? I think for younger self as an actor and things, I would say don't take it personally. Would be mine. Like it's very easy as an actor to think, oh, they don't want me to do this job, or they don't think I'm good enough to do this job, or why the hell aren't they seeing me to do this job? And I think the more you do it, the more you realize that it's not personal, and there are a lot of people trying to fill a small number of roles, and there are a lot of very, very talented people who don't get any jobs. And so if you get one job, then you're pretty lucky. And I've got friends who are much better actors than me who didn't get jobs and then have quit acting. So don't take it personally would be my big thing.
I ask, Havers was a ghost for about 5 minutes. How does it feel to be one of the most well-liked characters?
Oh, well, that's very kind of you to say that. It's amazing. I'm very touched by how much of an impact Havers made and that storyline. And I loved that storyline. And I was very surprised that it had that impact. But I think it's a reflection on how integral and how loved the captain is to the whole piece. And actually, Ben plays it with such heart, that role. And there's such beautiful pathos in it, as well as the comedy. And I think that's why Havers makes an impact, because of all the work that Ben has done over all the series to make the captain so fabulous. And so you're desperately rooting for what the captain wants, basically. That would be so I'm very honoured to be part of the Ghosts world, and I love it. And I loved my days on Ghosts, and I think it's testament to the quality of the whole, that you can have a small character come in and make such an impact. I'm very honoured to be part of it.
I feel like your acting definitely plays a part in that too.
Anyone could have done that.
Not everyone could. The next question is from Katie. It's a bit of a silly one. You've just been arrested and you can only make one phone call. Who are you calling? A, Ned from Desperate Romantics. B, Havers from Ghost. Or C, Jack from The Importance of Being Earnest.
Okay, but we don't know what I've been arrested for, presumably. No. Well, I mean, I think Ned would be pretty hopeless in that sort of situation, really, and would just dither about far too much. I think Jack would spend too long picking out which necktie he was going to wear and what buttonhole he was going to have, and by that time the court case would be all wrapped up. So I'd have to go for Havers because I think he was a pretty practical and down the line person. I think he'd be the one I'd want trying to talk me out of any situation, whereas the other two would definitely get me into deeper waters. So.
Yeah.
Olivia asks, how do you think the captain and Havers' lives would have turned out if the captain died, living in a cottage together by the sea into old age or something?
Gosh, it's hard to know, isn't it? I think maybe they would have, found somewhere, some quiet little place, and they'd have had a nice garden, and they'd have just potted around. Yeah, I suppose that's the nice way to think of it. I haven't given it sort of too much thought where it would go beyond it, but yes, there'd just be a couple of bachelors just living a respectable life, that sort of thing, probably. Yeah.
That's actually quite nice answer. Nice answer. The next question is: was there any conversation or inspiration that you know of about what Havers medals were going to be in Carpe Diem?
I think there was a bit of discussion because we sort of knew where he'd gone and things, and felt that he should have a gallantry medal as well. But beyond that, I sort of wasn't involved in the specifics. You know, Ben and I had a brief chat about it, but it wasn't really. And then with the designer and things, but it was well above my pay grade. So I think there was a definite feeling of the area that they should be in, and then they worked out the specifics of it.
Holly asks, would you be so kind as to share your 8 desert island disc tracks / books / luxury item choices with us?
Wowzers. Well, obviously I'm expecting the call any day, so I won't give you all of them. I think tracks wise, gosh, it's very tricky. I listen to lots of weird music, by which I mean a strange selection of music that some songs that I grew up listening to, and then others that you just hear a little bit of, rather than having very specific stuff. And growing up, I listened to a lot of 60s music and 70s stuff. And then if I'm working on something, then I quite often do a bit of a dive into the music, because I think it gives you a way in to the time and the energy of a time sometimes. So I'll give you a couple of the tracks. I'd probably go for, well, Blue, Red and Grey by The Who would 100% be on there, because it is such a brilliant, beautiful song. And I love the vocal on it, and there's this sort of soaring bit of trumpet on it. I presume it's trumpet. And that was one of the songs at my wedding as well we had, and my daughter was born to that as well. Oh. So we had that, and Maybe I'm Amazed by Paul McCartney would be another one, because my son was born to that song. Oh. And which was also the first dance at our wedding. So completely coincidentally, they came up on the playlist at the time that our children were born, those two songs. Which, and then, I mean, I quite like a bit of country as well. I quite like the old time, like people like Waylon Jennings and things like that. But I might go for a bit of Brandi Carlile. Maybe either The Mother or Crowded Table, which is by the Highway Women. Yeah, one of those two as well. it's tricky, isn't it? Because you sort of think about it, you can see why people go mad trying to pick their desert island
Yeah.
discs. The more you think about it, the more you think, oh yeah, I mustn't forget that Elvis song that I love Elvis. And then suddenly you've got a long list of 100 songs and trying to whittle it down. And also because then potentially it feels like you're choosing moments that are more precious to you or not, you know. And I remember listening to David Niven's Desert Island Discs, which is worth listening to just because he was a very funny man, but his music choices are dreadful. And it's clear that I think it's fairly clear, he got up in the morning, was having his breakfast. I don't know what Niven had for breakfast, probably some kippers or something like that. And a glass of champagne, and looked in his diary and thought, oh Christ, I'm doing Desert Island Discs today. And it feels like, because it's all of his songs are sort of, well, my daughters are listening to this at the moment, and I heard this the other day when I was in a restaurant, and there's nothing that seems to have any resonance for him as a song beyond I heard it the other day. But I guess some people just don't sort of think about music particularly. I have one of those brains that picks up lyrics quite easily, and some people get the tune much better or whatever. Anyway, I digress. Book-wise, I would choose The Count of Monte Cristo, which I'm currently rereading at the moment, just because it is brilliant. And if you haven't read it, have you both read it?
No, I have a long list of books to get through, and most of them still on my shelf.
Right.
Yeah,
well, add The Count of Monte Cristo. It is 1,200 pages, but add it. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And what else do I need to choose? Luxury items.
Yeah.
I'd either take a garden spade and fork, or a cricket net with a bowling machine. Those would be my two.
Why a garden spade and fork?
Well, because then you can grow some and cultivate your vegetables.
Fair enough. That's quite practical, actually. The next, it's my turn, isn't it? Yeah.
I think just going back to The Count of Monte Cristo, because there's a brilliant final line in it, which is something I forget, and I'm not going to look it up because I'll spoil the ending for myself again. Which is basically the two most important words are wait and hope. And I think you need that on a desert island as well. You've got to wait and you've got to hope. And for our cricket club, the Thespian Thunderers Cricket Club, on our sleeve it says wait, hope, hold on. And the wait and the hope is from Monte Cristo, and hold on is from Kipling, I think. But it's also quite appropriate if you're standing under a very high cat.
Right. The next question is actually my question. What changes do you think the theatre industry could make to be more inclusive of those from a low income background / those with a disability? Mostly because they tend to overlap.
Okay. I mean, that's a fairly massive question, a good one. I think, I mean, for me, the first thing would be to make theatre more accessible.
Yeah.
And the first place to start with that is ticket prices, and I think better pricing for young people coming to watch as well. I think you've got to get people interested, and you've got to find a way of getting people out of home and into the theatre, and you've got to incentivize that and make it possible for people who have that early love of it to go and see things, and to go and see, you know, the amazing actors and shows that are out there, and that are in their local towns as well. You know, it's not all London. There are so many brilliant shows on tour or just by local companies. and then for those theatres to have more funding for outreach.
Yeah.
Which the Watermill, I've got to say, I probably disappeared, am I? Hang on. I'm back. The Watermill's outreach was very, very good, and their youth groups and things like that were brilliant.
They also have a youth scheme, and the accessibility information is all on the website. I did Google this one before I went.
Great. Yeah, it's I think you've got to get people interested, and they have to realize at that age that it's possible.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people just think, well, it's not possible for me to go, and a lot of people, I can't really afford to go to the theatre most of the time because ticket prices are so high. So
yeah,
it's and you've just got to try and see as much as you can, and that has to be incentivized, I think.
Yeah. And it's just trying to work out whether or not it's her go.
I don't know. Bexty asked, would you rather be turned into a xylophone whenever there's a full moon, or have your hands turned into castanets once a month at random?
Obviously, it'd be beneficial to be able to plan around the full moon, but I think castanets would be more entertaining, so I'll go for castanets at random.
It would end up with some interesting conversations, I feel.
Yeah, exactly.
I will point out when we wrote this question, it was closer to when you were in the King's Speech. Okay. You've recently played Bertie in the King's Speech at the Watermill. How did you find that experience, and were there any particular memories you've taken with you from it?
To reassure you, for an actor, recently can be 5 years. When you go into a meeting, they say, "What have you been up to?" Well, I've just finished playing Bertie in the King's Speech.
Your Twitter still says you are playing Bertie in the King's Speech, according to your bio.
There you go. You see, there you go. What was the question?
You've recently played Bertie in the King's Speech at the Watermill. How did you find that experience, and are there any particular memories you have taken with you from it?
I loved it. It was fantastic, and Bertie is an amazing character to play, and the relationship with Lionel in particular, also with Elizabeth, and I mean with his father and brother, they're just beautiful relationships, and there's so much strength. There was so much strength in Bertie that I think I hadn't really considered until I played the part, until I started doing some research into it. Obviously, he was a prince, but he did not have an easy ride getting, and then he became king, and then he did not have an easy ride. And he didn't want it. And I think that's definitely, you sometimes get people go, "Oh, I don't want all this. I don't want all the fame and things like that." He definitely didn't want it. And he didn't want it for himself, and he didn't want it for his family. I think a lot of that was because he had been slightly broken by his family.
Yeah.
And he sort of bought into this quite familiar post-war idea of, "Oh, you weren't there," and actually he was there. He was on a fighting ship, but he had various health issues, which meant he kept on having to go and convalesce for long periods, and he was part of it. And there are stories about him, he remembered everybody who was on. He had a fantastic memory for faces and names, which I think, if you're a public figure like that, is so important, and such a skill. And he remembered people he'd served with 20 years later, and people who'd been a stoker on the ship that he was a lieutenant on, or whatever it was. I think I took from it, yes, that a new appreciation of the build up to the Second World War as well, and how events can very easily snowball, and which hopefully we're not seeing that it's going to go that way now, but who the hell knows. Little steps along the way, and missed opportunities, can suddenly become pretty major events. And so I think it gave me a fresh look at how history is made, which, as somebody who loves history, that was great. And it was lovely being part of that company, because everybody was fascinated by it and interested in it. And on a personal level with Bertie, I think seeing what he overcame with his stammer, and feeling that, was quite amazing for me as an actor, and just as a person and as a parent and everything. It was really interesting.
And it just keeps forgetting she's meant to be asking questions.
I'm waiting for. Oh, we got another Bexley question.
Bexley submitted a lot of questions.
Yeah. If you had to be stuck in one place forever as a ghost, where would it be?
I think I'd go. I mean, you sort of want to be in a good castle or something like that, where you can properly explore it, and at the same time there are people coming around who you can jump out at and mess with. So on that basis, maybe I'd be a ghost at Raby Castle, which is up in Durham, which is where I grew up. Not in Raby Castle, but very close to Raby Castle. And it's this beautiful, complete castle. And there's masses to explore, and it's in a beautiful setting. And yeah, there'll be lots of visitors and tour guides who you could mess with their heads.
Gonna have some fun with it.
Yeah, exactly.
James asks, how do you prepare for roles? Is there a difference between how you prepare for playing a TV character versus a character in a play?
If you mean preparing mentally in terms of how do I get to the point of playing a role, or before I step on stage? You think before I step on stage, I do various warm-ups, and then I'm on, and I have a little think, and I read my book, and I check I haven't forgotten any props. I worked with an actor who had been working for ages, and he was very, very good, but his preparation was just like, I don't bother with any of that anymore. And his preparation would literally, he'd be standing in the wings and you just go, and then he'd walk on stage, but you'd hear him on stage, right? Oh, here he comes. But preparing for a role, I try and read around the subject a bit. So if it's a part like Bertie, then I'll find out as much as I can about the person I'm playing. I think it's tricky sometimes. You can do too much. This is the lazy side of me. You can do too much research. I think you've got to remember that they're dramatizations. So you're playing a character who has been written by a writer, you're not playing that person. You see what I mean? There is a slight distinction there, I think. So you have to be true to the original person that you're playing, if you're playing an actual historical person, but you also have to be true to the writing. And there are times when those two things contradict, and if you try and kick against the writing too much, then it can actually weaken the impact of the person you're playing. And so I try and read around the subject. I try and read novels from the time period as well, if there are some, because I think it gives you an insight into the language, the way people were speaking outside of just the play text, and the way people were behaving socially as well in that time. So, for instance, if I was doing a play set in the London in the 30s or something like that, I'd read some Evil in War and all this, that kind of, so you get an idea of the way people talk and behave towards each other a bit more, and you might get some little physical bits that you think, oh, I'm just going to pinch that. And for TV, it's similar, but it depends. Sometimes you go on to a TV set and you know nothing about, no context for the scene. So I've done a couple of things recently where I have literally had my scene or my two scenes in something. No other I'm not sent any other scenes in the show, and I'm not told how my character relates to anybody else. So in that terms, doing preparation for that is pretty.
Yeah, it's.
You just have to
hope for the best.
Have a reasonably strong idea of what you're doing, what you're going to do, and then be open to change. But I think that's also the case for going into any job. You've got to be ready to adapt to what other actors are doing, what the director wants you to do, or what the space or set requires from you.
Yeah. I'm mentally noting this down as a theatre student going, yeah.
Yeah, it's you can do masses and masses of research, and it won't necessarily make you any more nuanced or better. The most important thing if you're doing is you've got to understand what you're saying. You've got to understand why you're saying, which is why that TV example is very difficult, because I'm talking about stuff that seems to me complete gobbledygook, but I guess it fits into the show somehow. But yeah, I don't know how to pronounce any of this. I don't know how to do any of it. But you have to have an understanding of what you're saying and who you are. So, for instance, the Desperate Romantics, I got the part, and then I started doing a lot of research into Ned Burne-Jones and William Morris and all of that lot. And then I got the scripts.
Yeah.
And this is what I mean about it's a drama. And so I thought, okay, well, there's no point in me doing any more research, because Ned Burne-Jones in the scripts is not Ned Burne-Jones in that actual period of his life that's represented in the scripts. It's a dramatic character who has certain traits, but is probably not. Me doing a lot of research into what Burne-Jones was doing doesn't necessarily help the way that he's written in relation to Rossetti and Morris, because I think actually he was a stronger character than he was made out to be. Yeah, exactly. And I portrayed him, but that was because that they wanted Ned and William to be this little double act of sort of acolytes, and actually they were more than that. I think they were more independent, and in a way they were sort of further on than Rossetti, I think, in their thinking, and they were like in the same way that all those 60s bands were coming through and doing these great things and innovating, and then the next band would do slightly more, and there's they were almost the Beatles to the to the Beach Boys. You know, that's ridiculous, but they were pushing things further, I think, and they pushed things further than Rossetti.
Yeah.
And we were disappointed that there wasn't then a second series more focused on the Burne-Jones, Morris, Rossetti triangle.
I would have loved to see that. I'm a bit of a nerd. Because Burne-Jones is a very complicated man. I have many books about him. It's very interesting. I will not go on that ramble because we'll be here all day.
But it's funny, you know, you do things, you do shows, and you start doing a bit of research, and then you do the whatever it is, and then years later you realize, as I did, that a mile from my parents' house there's a stained glass window that Burne-Jones did, and I hadn't realized it at the time. I just happened to be walking past the church that it's in. I was like, oh my God, that's a Burne-Jones window.
We had that with his painting in Norwich Castle.
Yeah.
We were just walking around, and I just had Hannah come up to me and was like, "There's a Burne-Jones painting over there."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, he was prolific and across lots of
Yeah.
different mediums. So yeah, it's difficult. The level of research you do, I think, varies from piece to piece.
Yeah.
And what your level of interest is, how much time you've got in the build-up. You know, if you've got weeks of rehearsals to do lots of background reading, great. If you get a job and they say, and you're in next week,
Can't do the same amount.
Okay, well, I'll do what I can, but here I am. I've managed to put my clothes on, so let's go for it.
Yeah, it's your turn, Hannah.
I really hope I pronounced his name right. Andrea asked if you could write. Oh, this is a long one. If you could write the story of Havers' life after the captain's death, what would it look like? What would he do for work? Would he stay closeted, marry a woman, and have kids? Or would he find love with a man again? Or in general, how do you imagine the rest of his life?
Wow, I mean, that's really a question for Ben and Larry, but and the gang. But I don't know. I think probably he would have stayed in the army for a bit if he could, because I think that was a sort of a safe place for him in a way. And then I don't know. It's so hard, isn't it? Because you see these characters as an actor. You see the characters as they are, and if you start projecting onto them where they're going to go, or start thinking about that too much, then it can muddy the waters a bit. So yeah, I don't know where he ends up, but I hope he was happy.
Nell asks, this is another Havers question. Unsurprising, my computer turned off as soon as I said that. Nell asks, if you could assign a song to Havers, what would it be?
A song?
A song.
Okay, well, I'll go. If it was a period song, then I'd say "I'll Be Seeing You," because I think that would work for the captain and for Havers. And yes, I mean, it's a very sad song, but I think it would work for both of them.
Makes eye contact with Hannah.
Out of all the characters you've played, is there one that's your favourite?
No. I mean, I love playing Havers, and that was fantastic. I loved playing Rawley in Journey's End. That was I think he's a really lovely character. I did a play called Jingo at the Finborough Theatre, and yeah, you connect to all the to the people that you play, especially on stage, because on stage you properly get to explore them night in, night out, which you find their little ticks and things, and you get to bounce off the other actors a bit more. And you can read, so Pygmalion, which I loved doing, I was playing Freddie, and Freddie, essentially, he turns up at the beginning, goofs around a bit, disappears, turns up in the middle, makes an ass of himself, sometimes turns up at the end, but most of the time he doesn't. The majority of the show, as an actor, you're sitting with your feet up reading the newspaper while everybody else is talking about you. Great. It's great. But it's a really fun little part, and you get the opening scene in particular, you get this lovely family dynamic of the Eynsford Hill family. And then you get a real connection between him and Eliza in the tea party scene. And it's it's a tiny part, but the more you do it, you catch these little moments and glimpses and double takes and all the rest of it. And yeah, I did that when I started it down in Chichester, and Candida Benson was playing my sister. And we had so much fun with that, because I've got two older sisters. And so this thing of the brother-sister relationship was really fun. And just the little looks that you need behind your mother's back sort of thing, and those little digs. I've been really lucky, and I don't think I've ever played a character, certainly on stage, who I've thought, you're just a real piece of work. Because you've got to be able to find something. Even if you're playing a villain, as an actor, you have to find some redeeming feature or some way that lets you into them. And you might know that they're a monster, but you as an actor have to find something that appeals.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't answer the question then in terms of who my favourite character was, but I can't.
It's
You can't make me do that. So I'm not going to.
That's like people asking me like my favorite player. I'll go, oh no. It's like choosing your favorite child.
Yeah, it's the moment.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
You're going to ask me what my favorite player was now.
I think that is one of the questions, but it's not the next question. Who of the actors you've worked with would be most likely to survive a zombie apocalypse, and why?
Wow. Okay. What skills do you need to survive a zombie apocalypse? I mean,
I don't actually know.
Okay. You need to be able
basic
to
survival
hit people
skills?
with a baseball bat, or basic practicality and basic survival skills, or
Living in the middle of nowhere would help.
Yes. Yeah. That would.
No people
I
around.
mean, I know lots of. I would just say the vast majority of actors wouldn't survive a zombie apocalypse. So I think that's. I'll stop there at risk of offending anybody.
I definitely wouldn't.
I don't know. I'll just hide in Bacton or something. No one goes. Well, apart from the summer, no one goes there.
Yeah, true.
Just hope it doesn't happen in the summer. There you go.
Yeah. Oh yeah. My sister asked, what is your favourite pasta shape?
My favourite pasta shape.
And how Laura's been labelled your sister.
Well, she is.
I don't know. I like the ones where they're not the seashell one. I don't know what they're all called. But they're like just a thumbprint. So it's quite a thick piece of pasta. But do you know which ones I mean?
Yeah, I don't know what they're called.
I don't know.
They've got a good bit of bite in them, but they hold a bit of sauce.
Nice.
practicality. Yeah. Now I'm thinking about my favourite passage. Um, what are your top three favourite theatre shows? You do not have to have been in them.
There you go. You asked me. Oh, that I don't have. I wasn't in. Okay. I mean, again, almost an impossible question because it's the moment that you watch them and you come out thinking, "Oh my God, that was one of the best things I've ever seen," and then you immediately forget because you're very fickle. Groundhog Day, the musical, would be up there. I mean, I quite love a musical. I love Les Mis. Les Mis would almost be one of them. Hamilton, another great one.
I
I saw that yesterday.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're at Norwich at the moment. Brilliant.
oh, amazing. Have you seen it before?
No, my sister really wanted to go, so I was like, "Oh, I'll get you that for Christmas or something."
Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was really good. I hadn't really
I mean,
listened
it's
to it
long.
because,
It is
oh
long.
yeah, because my history teacher was really into it. So, and that's like the first exposure to it. And then my sister got into it. And then it came to Norwich. I was like, "Oh, do you want to go?" She was like, "Yes."
Yeah,
It
great.
was really good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good show. What else? Productions I've seen. I saw an amazing production of Edmund by David Mamet at the National. Kenneth Branagh in it. That was pretty incredible. My Night with Reg at the Donmar with Julian. Who was it in that? Johnny Broadbent, Jeff Stretfield. I can't remember who else was in it. Anyway, Rob Hasty directed it. It was great. Yeah, you see these shows and you just think, or you see your friend in a show and things stand out, and then you go and see the next one. And not in a bad, I don't mean that in a bad way or dismissive way, but you have to, I think so much of theatre is about the moment of watching it and where you're at and the whole experience of watching it. So, but those are three great plays as well.
I spent the first year of uni having to analyze plays we've seen, so I've had to come up with a way of remembering details about them. But normally taking notes in the interval, which normally led me going, I'm very good at spotting when an actor makes mistakes, and then I have to sit there and go, I also make mistakes, but yeah, I'm very good at spotting patterns. It's
Okay.
I like pies. I don't know why that was where I went with that. Yeah.
Actors make a lot of mistakes though, and sometimes that's part of what can make a performance ping, because an actor suddenly has been doing the show for 100 performances and then they mess a line or their cigarette lighter doesn't work or something like that, and suddenly everybody on stage goes, "Well, here we go." And that can kind of turn it sometimes. So
you very quickly learn who's good at improv and who's not as good at improv. Yeah, I had to write about plays in first year. You have to be critical. My brain's still critical about it. I wish it wasn't.
I did a drama degree myself, so I know the feeling. Yeah, I think it's improv, but it's also, you have to be a good stage actor. I think you have to be comfortable with the silence.
Yeah,
and you have to be, and sometimes you forget a line or something doesn't work, and you just need a minute, not an actual minute, but you need some time to get your shit together, or a prop isn't working. And what happens if a prop doesn't actually work? If the handle falls off your mug in real life, you don't just ignore it. Or if you knock something over, you don't just ignore it, you fix it. And so, or you grab the door handle to go out and the handle comes off, which I have had on stage before. I was on stage and somebody else was trying to leave and they grabbed the door in a rage and the handle just came off in their hand. And they then left, but then obviously between us, we then had to figure out. They
Yeah.
managed to get out through another door, and the rest of us had to figure out because we weren't allowed to go on
Yeah.
that track through the house. Or yeah, it's those moments of panic inside the actors, and if you as an actor can just go, okay, I'm going to take my time over
Yeah, we
getting
had
this
someone
match to life, whatever it is.
we had someone in college move a prop that had to be in a certain place, and we did just kind of like, because it was pamphlets. We were doing a play called Amelia, and luckily there were other pamphlets on stage, so someone just ran over and gave people. That was for a moment I was terrified.
Yeah, yeah. It's like if I have to smoke on stage, I always want to know where backup matches or
Yeah.
lighters, and so I'll normally have. If I've got a prop lighter, I'll have a prop lighter and matches in my pocket, and
Yeah.
and there'll be some on stage somewhere, and I'll know where they are.
Yeah.
So it's just knowing. But like I say, if you knock something over in real life, you pick it up, and so those bits when you make a mistake, sometimes they're sometimes the most fun, but also they can very easily make you get the giggles on stage. Painful experience. So.
It's your turn, Hannah.
Yeah. Oh, this is a me question. What do you think the Captain and Havers got up to on that Sunday stroll mentioned in the book?
Oh, I'm ashamed to say I haven't read the book.
Oh no.
I'm sure that they had a lovely time. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't read the book. Right, so.
You kind of just grab the book from the side
Well,
of your.
I could. Hang on. I can lean. Oh, hang on. Oh no, it's on the top.
This is where Hannah now reads out the entire thing.
I'm not reading out the entire book. No. Hang on, I'll put it on one of my bookmarks.
More than one?
Well, yeah, I've got loads of stuff stuffed in here. Hang on. It opens the right bloody page. No, that's right. This is where it doesn't open. What's that? No.
Hannah will now not able to find that page.
Hang on.
It's just going to have to be really worth it, Hannah.
Yeah.
No. Why is it opening on a thing with a bookmark?
You know, in the back of the book they have an index which tells you what's on what page, right?
That probably would be helpful. Hang on. I can get to the bloody index. Hang on. Right. Where is it?
Hannah's really committed to this question.
It doesn't say. I don't know.
You know my answer's still going to be I don't know. So.
Yeah.
I give up. I'll look at that later. I can't find the bloody page.
Right. Swiftly moving on. Do you have an interesting fact you like to tell people? It doesn't have to be about yourself. It could be, but it doesn't have to be.
A fact about me?
Like any interesting fact. It doesn't have to be, but it could be.
Oh no, because I'll be riddled with self-doubt that they might go, I don't know, I think actually, no, that didn't actually happen, sort of thing.
We keep getting told we need to always have an interesting fact. I was like, but I can't ever think of one when I need it.
But then you just sound like you're just spouting a fact, which can be quite disconcerting if you're the person receiving that fact. You're like, okay. I didn't ask you when croissants were first made, so why have you suddenly told me that?
Yeah. Any specific, any random facts you know?
I mean, I hope I know quite a lot of random facts, but I can't. If you're going to put me on the spot about it, I know nothing, apparently. So
I get that. I normally go with a blue whale's heart is about the same size as a Mini Cooper, but not the modern Mini Coopers, like the old ones.
Yeah, okay.
I learned that from QI at one point.
Green sea turtles have a sort of compass. They've got a compass in their head, basically, so they can navigate by the Earth's magnetic pulses.
That's cool.
Something like that.
Wait, we're just
I'm
looking at
done. I'm
Hannah.
done. I got nothing more for you, Hannah.
Where are we? No. Oh yeah. Oh, that was. Yeah, we've got. Do you have a topic you know an unusual amount about?
First World War flying aces.
Ooh.
Please.
I know a weird amount about the Dowding system. Second World War, technically. Also RAF related. I live near the Battle of Britain bunker. There is a reason.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
very nice. You should go. I will continue recommending that museum. It's a very good museum.
You dragged me there, so it was good.
I did drag you there.
Yeah.
You enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
Right. Next question is, I think it's from Bexty, but I didn't label it because Bexty had submitted an unholy amount of questions. If you could create a cricket team made of animals, what species would you choose and why? It's definitely Bexty.
All made
It's
of
cricket.
one. I mean, I'd have
Do they
border collies. They can just run around in the field. They will not get bored. They will do what they're told, and they're very good at catching balls.
It might be hard for them to bat though.
They're
I would say that most
very
animals.
trainable, though. They're very trained. You know, they're always doing those agility courses and things like that. As they get older, cricket bat.
Hannah is.
Yep. I don't want to talk over anyone. What's that? Oh, what are your top 3 shows you've been in? Oh wait, can be theatre, film, or TV. It's got done.
Ghosts aside, I would say Journey's End, because that was my first job and it was amazing, and I think it's a beautiful play, and I think it's one of the most important plays of the century, if not the most important play. And I had a fantastic time doing that show, playing that part, and made a lot of very good friends on it. Jingo, which I did at the Finborough, which is an insane play, and I mean quite a difficult play in terms of subject matter, but it's a farce about the fall of Singapore and how awful colonialism is, and imperialism. But it's late 60s, I think it was written. And so it's sort of mad. It's written by a guy called Charles Wood, who wrote things like The Charge of the Light Brigade, the John Gielgud one, and he wrote. There's a John Lennon film it's John Lennon, Michael Crawford, about a team who are sent behind enemy lines to build a cricket pitch. And he wrote, anyway, Charles Wood wrote all these. He wrote brilliant plays, but they were all anti-establishment. I've disappeared again. I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah.
There we go. And I, again, had a great time doing that. Tiny theatre, completely bonkers part, and some really horrible speeches to learn, but it was great. King's Speech would definitely be up there, because again, I loved playing Bertie, and I loved the relationships in that. And probably the importance of being earnest, because I'd wanted to play that part for a long time. And I loved doing that. The production itself was slightly stressful at times, but for various reasons. But playing that part was great.
Gotta love an Oscar Wilde play. It's my question, isn't it?
Yep.
Have you kept any props from set/productions you worked on, and if so, what were they?
No, I haven't. I wouldn't dream of taking any props from a set or production that I've worked on. I have one or two mementos but buttons. I've got a few buttons. I quite like having a button from a coat if it's a special type of button. And like, so for instance, Pygmalion, my waistcoat that I had this beauty, it was directed and designed by someone called Philip Prowse, who worked at the Glasgow Sits Theatre, and he's a brilliant designer as well as director. And we had these beautiful costumes, and I was in my tailcoat and had this fantastic silk waistcoat with really fine embroidery of bees and flowers and things on it. And the buttons were mother of pearl buttons with a little worker bee on them. Oh. And there were 3 spare buttons on the inside, so I whipped one of those out.
Nice.
The buttons are quite, and same with a military button from a certain coat or something like that, if there's a spare. But I wouldn't take one off the coat that's actually there. But if there's a spare, there's quite often a spare stuck in the lining.
Yeah.
Sometimes have those. But otherwise, not big stuff. It would just end up. I don't live in a big house. It would all go.
Yeah.
Back in a box.
I'm just looking at Hannah waiting for Hannah to...
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt anyone. Also, do you think Havers took a memento of the captain to remember him by when he transferred to the front?
I think this is based partly because in the book there's a photo of Havers that was found in Captain's diary. Yeah.
I think he probably would have had a photo, and I think probably he might have something that was his handkerchief, or this was his pair of socks or something like that. Something which was very innocuous, but personal meaning for him.
Yeah. Oh,
I managed to find that one. Look, so
that's the photo.
Photograph of an unknown soldier found in the commanding officer's belongings after Button House was decommissioned at the end of Second World War.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Unknown officer, chic of it.
Yeah.
That did leave a lot of questions, but that's do we still have time for more?
I can do a couple more.
Okay. The next one is a silly one from Katie. Did you choose the glasses moustache combo for your role in Downton Abbey, or was that the costume department's choice?
That was costume department's choice. They're particularly unflattering glasses and moustache, so that was costume department's choice. Sometimes I do ask for a moustache because why not?
Yeah.
Sometimes I suggest growing them, and then I usually regret it. But I did a Pinero play called Dandy Dick, and I foolishly showed the director a picture of me with Flashman whiskers. I don't know if you're familiar with the character Flashman.
No.
Who's a fictional character made by George MacDonald Fraser, who was a writer who wrote Bond films and Three Musketeers films and things like that. But he wrote this series called The Flashman Papers, which are about, they take the bully from Tom Brown's school days, and he takes him from the moment he's expelled in Tom Brown's school days and makes him the most famous Victorian ever and the most highly decorated Victorian soldier, and they put him in every single battle they can possibly shoehorn him into. And MacDonald Fraser is one who did so much research, and if you found an account which said 3 riders, were seen riding out of a couple, 2 of them have been identified as such and such, but the identity of the 3rd is unknown, he'll make that Flashman. Anyway, Flashman had this sort of thing going on.
Yeah.
And I foolishly showed a picture to the director of me with that, and he went, "Yes, do that." Which then ended up on tour for 3 months.
Oh no!
With those whiskers, it was not strong. except in Glasgow. Loved it in Glasgow. Yes, I did not select those. Okay, quick fire, go.
Hannah.
Yeah. Would you rather live as a bee for a year or spend 6 months only being able to make kazoo sounds?
Kazoo sounds. Next.
Are you able, James asked, are you able to speak in a northern accent?
Yes.
If you weren't an actor or writer, what other job would you do?
A garden designer.
Ooh. James also asked, what was in Edward Burns Jones's sandwich?
Ham.
Oh,
Uh,
It was probably just bread.
yeah.
No, in these props departments. Yeah.
What would you say Havers' favourite food would be?
Pave. It's a sort of cake that looks a bit like a cobblestone pavement, like a tiramisu.
See what you did there. What would your drag name be?
I'm not qualified to give. My wife's a big fan of RuPaul. I would not be qualified to give myself a drag name. I think it would go disastrously wrong. So,
What is your go-to film to watch?
go-to film. Probably a Paul Newman film, maybe Butch Cassidy or The Sting or something. Or I love a Western or something very silly like Hot Shots or Naked Gun or something like that.
Which character or historical figure would you like to have met if they were real / still alive?
I'm going to be corny and I'm going to say my two grandfathers. Where are we going?
That's actually quite sweet.
Yeah. If you could steal a role from a fellow cast member from anything that you've worked on, what would it be and why? Oh, that's Katie asked that.
Ross in the Rattigan play Ross. I mean, what a part. Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah. This is going to be the last one from me. If you won the lottery, what would you do with the money?
I mean, it very much depends on how much you win, doesn't it? But
yeah.
I would build myself a little writing room and I'd write. Don't know what I'd write. Nonsense, probably, but I'd write.
It's a writing room.
Would you?
I mean, and I'd save the world, of course. But yeah, go on, Hannah.
Would you do a musical if the opportunity came up?
No, and everybody would thank me for that decision.
Have you got another question?
No, I don't have any more.
I've got.
Hannah's probably got one more.
Yeah, I've got one more. Do you think Havers has a middle name? If so, what? And Nell asked that.
Isn't it in one of the? I feel like he's down as.
Yeah, we went now.
Yeah, I think in the cricket report.
It says in the cricket report, AP Havers, which became the joke of Anthony Peter Havers because it would be funny.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I can't find that quickly.
I'll take that, Peter.
Nice.
Why not? Because writers aren't that imaginative, so yeah.
You good there?
Yeah, and that was the last question. Thank you so much for doing this, and we hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you both for organising it, and thank you to everybody who donated as well. Thank you. Well done. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you. I'm going to stop.
Don't quote me on any of that. Yeah.